Okay, let's get.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Today we've got Débora de Castro Leal speaking with us. We're very excited to have her here at the Digital Citizenship Exchange. She's going to speak to us about her life through academia, research and activism, and moving into that role around digital technology at the edge of capitalism, and finally, the reflections of decolonial thinking and how we can add this into our own research. Thank you so much, Débora. We really look forward to your talk.
Prompts.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the people online, digitally, and the people who are in presence. Thank you, Anna Carter, for the invitation and for the conversations we had and the opportunity to talk today. So, I'm from Brazil. I defended my PhD last year. Now I'm in my last weeks as a researcher associated at University of Siegen. My research focus on the role of digital technologies in rural communities in the Amazon region and the tension between these technologies and coloniality. So in this talk, I'm gonna bring a bit of my why did I get to be academic and why did I get to become an activist. So I will give you the first, this life, and then I'm gonna talk about two papers. And if we have time, I talk about the third um, way of doing research. So for me, like when I think about activism, like we can read in the dictionary, it's a person who believes in political or social change and takes parts in activities such as public protest to try to make change. But in my case, I feel like activism means to demonstrate a commitment to stay activated for the structural change that I want to make in my personal life and in community I am connected with. But before I engaged with the my neighboring or my communities, the people I lived close by, I worked for many years with digital with development of softwares, uh, and then I started engaging, going to the favelas in Rio where I used to live, doing using open source softwares to map the favelas because Google could not go to their streets. So we were mapping their streets and teaching them how to uh, have a more autonomy in the information that they would put online. I also uh, start to engage with rural farmers in Rio, where we developed sensors to measure the amount of CO2 inside of a greenhouse where they cultivated mushrooms. I also traveled by bus in a project called Hackabus, where we talked about hacktivism, public transparency, and open data. So we would travel in this bus, and then when we arrived in the square or in a place, we would open the place, the room for conversations. So it was a very interesting experiences. But at some point, I was feeling that I was missing. Um, I would like to learn more how to speak English. My English was super bad, and by coincidence, I met a professor during a workshop, a seminar that she was offering, and I was super interested about her work. And then I asked her because I quit my job as a software developer. I asked her, can I go to your lab? And the lab that she is the co-founder and the director is the D Lab at MIT. So she said yes, why not? We are happy to receive volunteers. And then I started working with her for 1 year at D Lab. Um, and then in 2000, this was in 2013. I was still learning what I was what I was doing. So I was engaging with her students. So we would collaborate. In one of her classes, I had these students who were interested in going to Brazil. And then I planned a trip of like 1 month trip of these students to go to Brazil to think about social technologies that they would develop together with the communities in rural communities. So this is the picture of the class that we, like part of the MIT D Lab class. So we would do classes in the lab, and then they would travel to different countries. And one of the countries was Brazil, where I was leading this trip. And then we would bring, for example, here solar panels to these houses where they didn't have electricity. But at the same time, we would also engage them to learn about electronics, how to fix a solar panel. So this is in Amazon region in a place called Curralinho. And then after I engaged with this, I also engaged with other ways of other technologies like this one, ecological technology, where we would do the management and treatment of sewage. So we learn about these banana tree systems where we developed for a school in a rural community also in Brazil. I continue engaging with D-Lab, going to Tanzania, Uganda, Colombia, and this is another project also that we in a refugee in post-conflict zones. We want to reduce the risk that women in camps face when going out to collect firewoods by decreasing the amount of fuel needed for cooking. So when they usually they couldn't collect wood, so they would burn their own clothes or plastic to cook food. So this way, making a different compartment to keep the rice cooking would allow people to save the wood used for cooking. And the last activity that I did together with D-Lab was this an autonomous community network. And I'm not sure, like what I said at the beginning, if it was clear, but for me, activism means to demonstrate a commitment to stay activated for the structural change I want to make in my personal life. So this community, I was like, I want to go back to my city where I live with my families, and I would like to engage with communities in my neighboring. And then I met this community very close to my house in the Amazon rainforest. The capital, Belém, has another city called Acará, and I met them. They are organic producers, and their main problem for them, like it was, we don't have internet, we don't have connectivity, we cannot call for help when we need a doctor, an ambulance, a police. The basic services were not close to them. So, but for me, as someone who would come have these experiences at the lab, I was like, but we have to see the problems that you have here. And for me, I was very focused on me deciding what were the problems and not so much listening. When I realized that, okay, their problem is the connectivity, I have to focus on what they want to have their participation also. And then that's how I started like doing these activities with the community. So being there, learning with them, learning their problems, and seeing that because at the beginning, why did I go to this rural community? Because my grandma used to tell me stories of her life in those regions and how was her life difficult without schools or living in the middle of the forest. And for me, connect myself to that area was something really important. So I'd like now, not sure if you have, I would like you to think, or you cannot talk to people around you with in pairs, or how you feel more comfortable with. I would suggest that you look to the person beside you, and I would like to know, within the context of your life, your immediate connections, what would be the thing that you would like to change? I ask this because I will talk about my paper, and then I would like you to reflect about it once again. So I know that the people online, maybe you will not be able to talk to someone else, but if you could think maybe 1 minute, Anna, if you could just see if people can talk and see, just to think what are the things in your life that you would like to change.
Because of the setup at the room, it might be easier if we go one-on-one, like one each, and try and have a overall discussion. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what to do. Do you guys want to come round to the camera? We don't have a general camera. Or you can chat between yourselves and then come over here.
I think Ruda B, she wants to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, about the context of my life, at the moment I'm living in a dormitory related to university, and there are many students living here. Do you hear me? No, okay. And for example, today I accidentally saw a girl who is very new here in Germany, and he's coming from the same country that I am coming from, Iran. And I noticed that when new students are coming, um, they have problems with how to adopt themselves with new lifestyle here in Germany because of the culture differences, and also the way of living, like doing groceries or even contacting each other, and also education system at some parts are different. And yeah, I was thinking maybe designing a platform to for new students could be really helpful for them. And yeah, like categorizing different subjects, also psychology, from in the terms of psychology, because many of them feel really homesick, not only from Iran but from other countries when they come. So this I would like to change if you ask. Yeah, to for example, even I was, because I'm living here in Germany for 5 years. It is my own experience, and I can transfer what I know about how to deal with the challenges, emotional challenges, for example. And because they have a lot to learn here, as I said, from the university staff to like simple tasks for the life, like the routines. So if we can, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm.
Anna, how are the people? Are they talking? Were they listening to?
A bit of both.
Um,
Chatting and listening at the same time. Does anyone have anything they want to add right now? Not right now.
Okay. Matteo, do you want to say something? Or Matab? Maybe not. I will continue.
No, I'm trying to think of something, but I cannot come up with a good answer to the question.
No problem. It's okay. But in my case, I was super like, okay, what am I doing? This all after working with software development And then this moment of my life where I did this engagement with rural communities and connecting myself with the life of my grandma. So it was a bit of a changing the way of looking. And then I thought, okay, I need some theory. I need to understand what's happening to me. And that's why I decided to go to the academy. So I had this new lens in action. So I would have to be not doing more activism at the same time doing, but I was going more to collect data, and then everything changed because now I was getting paid to be engaging with the communities, and then it was difficult for me to from activist to become academic, so it was a bit difficult. And something that I learned when I was talking to them and saying, now I'm an academic, I'm here, I'm getting paid, or I didn't have to say that I was getting paid, but it was kind of clear. And they would tell me usually that the academics come here and get all the information for their degrees, but they never return. I hope you come back. And for me, it was very difficult. Like, okay, I had to make this different. And so I had to write this for part of my PhD is writing papers. So the paper that I wrote related to Acara was this one: digital technology at the edge of capitalism. This is one of the papers that detail like the digital technology that was developed in that region. But to get there, I had to read, recall diaries, feelings, attitudes, listening to records, seeing pictures that I took, and see how happened these years of unpaid activist work. So you have a better idea. On top, you can see here is the capital of the state of Pará. It's where I used to live, where I was living, and where I'm moving back in some weeks. So I'm going to move to Belém. I'm going to live there again. And and here below is Acará, is the Boa Vista, is the community of 300 families that I worked with. And I met them because they were selling products like organic products in a fair. And then we became friends. And then I started visiting to engage with this conversation of understanding what was happening in their community. So the idea was, okay, there is no internet coverage here, no cell phone coverage. They could not connect and talk to people in this region here. So the idea was, how could we send a signal from this capital to this area? It's all flat. And then we thought, like, okay, there is a tower here. If you see, this is the entrance of the community. You take a boat, and here is the harbor, and here there is a tower that was abandoned, no one was using it. And then we decided to invade, to connect an antenna and see if we could get a signal from Belém. And that's what happened. So we connected the universities, the local universities, with money given by a university from São Paulo, in partnership with the government. Like, I had to connect with many people to make this happen. And the most important thing were the leaders of the community. These are the people who were super engaged, and we would be talking and understanding how to make this autonomous network to work. So what they would teach us, like, we would come with some people that knew about technology, about antennas, and they would pass the knowledge and try to explain. But at the same time, things that we didn't know, like they would tell us, the rain usually comes in this way, so we cannot use this piece of land, or this tree is better to put an antenna because the leaves, they do not grow so fast, or this tree we can cut down because they grow easily and it's not a problem. So and also how to tie the antennas. Instead of using plastic, can we use these string vines that were available in the community? So it was a bit of an exchange to make this network to work. And what was my interest after, like, to write the paper? Because my paper was not so much about the process of doing to implementing or deploying the internet community. It was to understand how the community was affected after the use of after the internet to arrive and to make it more easily to be accessed. So this is the family of Bebeto. And so their way of living is that each house in the middle of the forest, they have another house outside, and where they make cassava flour. It's a flour out of a root called cassava. It's like a potato, but it's another type of, it's a cassava. So they have a lot of indigenous technologies that some have been forgotten, improved, and substituted. So cassava flour is the oldest and most common production in the region. And for many generations, they used to travel to the capital by boat, like 4 hours by boat, and then to sell the whole day to sell in a fair. For the whole day they would be there. But now when I ask them, after the implementation of the internet and the easy access of WhatsApp, I asked how would they sell, and if they would like to have more clients, and how was the production work. And what Bebeto answered me was that they didn't want to have more clients because that is the amount that we can produce in a specific time. And now I have more time to do other things. I don't have to spend the whole day in a fair. I just go to the harbor, I give my production to my client, and then I go back home. Another traditional production is acai. I don't know if you have heard, but acai is a power fruit. It's a fruit that gives energy drink. And this guy, Leandro, who is in this tree, he has been in the business for 19 years. And he also would go previously to a fair with a basket full of raw acai and negotiate the price with clients. But now, after internet, he said that he sells to just a specific person, a specific client, where the delivery is scheduled through WhatsApp. And so I asked also the same questions about selling more or producing more, and he answered, no, that's not possible. I can sell just the amount of acai that the trees can give it to me. And so this was something that I heard from many of the producers. Of course, many of them also are very interested in producing more. And what I heard from another person was, we are cutting trees down so we can have more acai, because there is a boom of acai production happening in the Amazon rainforest. And now I'm going to tell you, if you want to try acai, you can find smoothies in places like this one, that is the Black Sheep Coffee, that is around the corner. It's somewhere in the region close to Northumbria. So you can find acai now everywhere. I don't know how you spell it. How do you say it? But I think it's acai or acai. I don't know. But what I can tell about this berry is there is impressive results happening. The change in Amazon is is happening. The exports have increased 15,000% in a decade. So there is an acai boom, usually seen as a successful case of the Amazonian bioeconomy. But what people are not seeing is that this appetite for products from the Amazon is not suitable for the Amazon biome environment and its inhabitants. The negative impacts on the local ecosystems and on local traditional cultures are, for instance, threatens the pollination services, for example, because of the people are cutting down the trees and growing acai. The trees that brings the bees to the region, they were not there anymore, so they cannot pollinize the acai trees to flourish. The other thing was the child labor. So the acai is very thin and it's sometimes very fragile. So they need kids, very thin people to climb up the trees to get the acai down. And also, because they have to, some people are cutting down the trees because they want to produce more acai and sell and be part of this exportation process, it reduces the richness of native forest and disturbs the social and economic dynamics of local extractivist communities. So this is acai. The other products, so I mentioned cassava, acai, and now the last product that I also analyzed is roots and herbs. So because they're influenced of indigenous culture, they believed, and it's well known in my city in Belém, everyone take spiritual baths with the herbs made by rural communities that we call ribeirinhos. So they are known by elderlies. And now, because of a big cosmetic industry learned about this, the spiritual goods of these herbs, they started investing in those communities and they asked the communities to start producing more herbs. And this is, for example, seu Ivan, he's carrying priprioca, is a roots that is, they now produce 50 tons of priprioca per year just to be sold in everywhere in the world. So if you want to buy any products that comes with herbs from the Amazon region, it's possible. I'm going to show you the website soon. And something that I learned using the theory of pericapitalism is that many of the knowledge that are part of this pericapitalist system are knowledge that you cannot learn from universities. You cannot find schools teaching. Is a knowledge that is inside of this traditional way of living. So suddenly you get this knowledge that is nowhere else, just in this community, and you start to use in a capitalist way. So here, something that is also interesting is that a new way of getting income in this region is selling cosmetics through a catalog. I don't know if you know about it. Maybe this is too old for the young people that are watching now. Is that in back times people would have a magazine with the products. It's just like if you go to a supermarket and you have like a catalog of products, but the person would get that catalog and they would go door to door and offer, oh, you can buy with me. I'm the person, I'm the middle woman, and I can sell you these products here. So what is really common to find in communities like this, in the rural communities, is the people using their time to visit people, friends, the church, schools, and sell the products. And the products inside of these catalogs are the products from the knowledge of their parents, grandparents. So here it's a very interesting combination, like the people, young people selling catalogs with cosmetics where the knowledge comes from their own family and with a very high price. So here you can see if you want to buy products from the Amazon with resources from the Amazon, you can find online sold in dollars, euros, yeah. And something that was interesting, I'm showing again the map, is because in this area, as I said before, there was no internet connectivity. And at the same time, there was no zip code. So how could they receive packages? Like if I'm a consultant and I sell products from a magazine, I order online, I have WhatsApp to ask for the company to send me the products. However, I have to find ways of making the whole logistics to happen. And what I learned is that many of those women, mostly women, they would have a person in the capital that would receive the products, and then they would have to ask someone to go to that house to bring to the city, and then this person in Boa Vista, Acará, would get a boat and travel around the islands to distribute the products that they were selling from this catalog. So it was a very in the sense of periphery, a very peripherical capitalist way of making the cells to work, the logistics to work. And yeah, so as you imagine, requires a lot of effort from the consultant to make this happen with the lack of infrastructure in those regions. So this is a picture from the harbor, the view of the harbor. So in here, what I did in my paper was telling about my work, where I directed to create a change in the place, talking about not only doing the internet, implementing, deploying the internet, but asking why do we don't have internet in these regions. Do you understand why the companies, they don't want to come here and offer you internet? But now the next question, after 6 years of internet working in those regions, we have the Starlinks from Elon Musk. So internet is everywhere. So now there is no problem and everyone is happy because Elon Musk is offering the internet to everywhere, but it doesn't bring the critical thinking about what does it mean to offer your data to all these companies. I think the digital literacy that is needed to everyone about when you use technologies. So this is the paper. I will bring, maybe this would be a second question, but I will open for you to ask me things instead. And then maybe it's easier, and then I can go to the second topic. How do you feel, Anna?
Yes, sounds great.
If you have any questions, I'm super happy. But or comments, but if you don't have any comments, it's okay also. Sometimes it's too much information, and as I talk, I'm not so sure if I'm clear. If something that I said was not clear, I'm happy to clarify.
Clara's coming for a question, Deborah. I will roll backwards.
Hi. Thanks, Débora, for the talk. It's not so much a question, it's kind of a thinking as I go, but when we think about going to a community like this and bringing technology, bringing ways to help them distribute their product, for example, I always think it's going to be a good thing for them and don't think so much of the impacts, the negative impacts it can have. My question or comment for you is, in your experience, is it more in this specific case, is it more positive, negative? Maybe it's both.
Yeah, it's so complicated, Anna. Anna, no. Oh my God.
Clara.
Clara. Clara. So there was something that I will tell you, and something that happened to me. I was in a house, very rural, no electricity, and we would have electricity just for 4 hours from 6 to 10. It was time to start the soap opera, and then see the news, and then until the end we would listen to radio until the last drop of diesel would end. So it was like just the amount of diesel allowed for the day. And then it was interesting because there was a full of shampoo packages on the wall of that house. It was a very simple house in the middle of the forest, made of wood, no doors, hammock, and full of packages of shampoos. And then when we were watching TV, soap opera, and that full of information about the TV, and then suddenly there was a commercial of a shampoo, and the woman said, "Oh, a new shampoo package! I have to buy this one." Because she would like to get what is on TV through her wall. And then she have a collection of shampoos packages. She didn't have how to collect. There was no system of to be collected the garbage. So where to put? Second, the consumption. What is on TV is what they get and what they want to have. So I think it's hard to say what can you or you cannot consume in those regions because it's what they see all the time. So they consume, they have TVs, sometimes they have fridge, ovens that they cannot discard. They use as wardrobe, like fridge that are not working, they open and make wardrobe. Oven, I don't have an answer, but I think we are achieving a limit of consumptions in the planet. I think we have to rethink the way we consume things. I think we are doing this already, but maybe we have to think better, like, these repair movements, cell phones that are using components that you can change, I think would be but I'm not sure if that's what you meant with your question, but it's that
Yes.
what came to my mind. Thank you, Clara.
Thanks.
Is there something else if people would like to know or questions? Something? Okay.
Yes, yes. We've got, and this is good, we've got another Anna. So we've got two Annas coming to ask.
Hello. Can you see me?
Yes, Anna.
I'm not sure. I cannot see the camera, so I'm just speaking to a computer.
This one.
Yeah, sure. I was wondering if the Wicked Reflections is a reference to Wicked Problems, and because it relates, the notion of wicked problems relates to my work on ethics in an interesting way, especially, when you're trying to create social justice oriented change and you have to be critical of state power. So I was wondering if you could maybe speak to that a little.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the next paper is this one that I'm going to talk about. I think, I think when in the paper, when I brought the word system analysis, where we talk about the center and the periphery, there is a power relation very strong happening in this interdependency. So we are always, now I'm working with bioeconomy in the Amazon region. And what people are trying to convince me is that it's good that this acai, all these herbs, they are good. Oh, look, Europe, they want to buy more and more. And it's just like the Amazon just exists because of biodiversity, and they just exist. The biodiversity just exists because of a different way of living. And we want these people who live in the forest that they change the way of living. They want them to start producing. They want them to start to be involved in the supply chain of things, of perfumes, of berries, of like I saw once I bought a product, was acai in front, and was like, I'm taking acai. Very naive from my side, is just because I like acai, and it was, the picture was there, and then I saw the component was 0.01% of acai. So the brand is becoming, you know, like Amazon, the products from the Amazon, it's becoming so important, because we see, if we buy things from the Amazon, it seems that the forest is going to be intact. But actually, we do not know what will happen if you start removing all the seeds, all the oils, all the herbs, everything, and we do not allow the animals to eat, the people to eat. So it's this power relationship, Anna, that you are asking, that I'm not so clear about it, but I'm learning, because that's why I'm going back to Brazil, because I really want to learn more about it. What is happening with those communities who are cutting down trees to plant more acai and have a monoculture? And it's very complicated. And I do not know if I have an answer for you, but
Oh, yeah, I would be suspicious if you did. You know, but yeah, I guess I'll just leave. But yeah, I mean, these are
yeah,
the
it's
questions
very
we must ask, I guess. Not
yeah.
necessarily to reach a solution. I don't think that's productive. Solutionism really rarely works. But I guess just to ask questions. I don't know. I'll leave. I'm sorry.
No, that was super nice, your question. And I think it's just the imposition of this way of living. We are all consumers, and
Yeah.
we like consuming. Everyone likes. But I think we should be aware. I don't know, it makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, a very similar thing is happening with tequila also, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, thank you very much.
you're welcome. So I go to the next paper. So this is more a paper of a provocation to the community of technologists. What I heard many times, I would present my papers, and then people would talk to me and say, "Is this HCI? Is this design? Like, why are you bringing this description? This is anthropology. You should apply in another place." You know, like, and I think sometimes, it's not everyone, but I felt like I was not welcomed in many workshops, in many environments. So I was not happy with the idea of analyzing the communities and being expected to build a new app or a web page, software, or whatever. So I decided to do a research about the materiality of those cell phones that we all use. So I was bringing internet to a rural community that I didn't know where the equipments were coming from, which materials are they from. Also, the e-waste, where would they go to? Like, I saw people burning TVs because they didn't want that material, so they just burn as a way of removing, as the waste management of some sort. Yeah. So although this is not a commonly used term, mineral age, this is fair to say for me that we live in a mineral age. And I say that because the lifestyles of most people around the modern world, and this I'm saying most people, not everyone, are utterly dependent on minerals and metals. This includes iron, steel, aluminum, gold, and silver, but also manganese or lithium for the batteries required for our growing interest in electric cars. While the use of metals and minerals is not new, our dependence on it is steadily increasing. it's not only the amount of minerals, but also the number of different kinds of minerals that is increasing. Much of this increasing demand is tied to changing technology, including all kinds of technologies that are essential for computing, but also for the entire infrastructure that the computing relies on. This dependency on minerals is very problematic. One common term is conflict minerals, which refers to a group of metals required for the production of digital technologies, which are usually linked to armed conflicts in Central Africa. Not only, I don't know if have you heard, but in Amazon, we also have many conflict minerals. And one clear example that was documented and written about was in 2000, where the increased demand for PlayStation in the US directly led to growing violence in Congo over increasingly profitable coltan mines. That was a key component of the game console. So this is a map of environmental justice related to mining. And you can see environmental issues happening in the whole world. In this other map, now focusing in the Amazon, you have an idea of what is happening right now in the whole Amazon region. In yellow and green are the indigenous territories and the protected areas. In red and pink are the cases of mining. You can observe that the mining are in the limits of the indigenous and protected areas. In the year the paper was written in 2021, almost 60,000 points of mining were identified in these regions. Mining is categorized into two kinds: large-scale mining, which is usually carried out by big and legal companies, and artisanal and small-scale mining, which are usually illegal. And so you have an idea of how all this started. Gold mining began in the region when the land, which was called Pindorama by the natives, was invaded by Europeans in the 16th century. Until the year of 1660, it was documented that hundreds of thousands of kilos of gold and 16 million kilos of silver landed at the port of Spain coming from Latin America. So at that time, it was Minas, not so much in the Amazon yet. But this value exceeded 3 times the total European reserves and accelerated the mercantile capitalist development in Europe called Industrial Revolution. As we talked at the beginning, like about I mentioned the word system analysis, these economic dynamics enable growth outward. This means, for example, that countries in Europe, the center of the world system, use their internal and external natural resources for internal growth, while countries in the periphery, like Brazil, would use their primary resources to be used for growth outwardly, exporting their natural resources to the center and importing most of the technological goods, which are also produced by the center. So nowadays, with the privatization of areas like this one, now you can see many people on top of each other. Now the Amazon region is different. I'm going to show you how is the mining. Now you can see this Norsk Hydro, in Portuguese is Norsk Hydro. So now that's how Amazon looks like. Look, amazing. So this is a Norway company in Trobetas, near Quilombola territory, and this is, you can see there are trucks there, but they are so small, but they have like many trucks, and this is aluminum industry and renewable energy company in the Amazon. So this is another private large-scale mining, the Mariana Dam in Minas Gerais, near the Krenak indigenous land. These disasters occurred at the end of 2015, killing 19 people. The pollution was spread along almost 700 kilometers of watercourses. The disaster created a humanitarian crisis as hundreds were displaced and cities along the Doce River still suffer with water shortage and the consequences of it. This is Brumadinho Dam, also illegal mining in Minas Gerais, a disaster that occurred in 2019 when a tailing dam suffered a catastrophic failure. 270 people had died as a result of the collapse. So these are examples of artisanal small-scale mining that is often in the Amazon region, and it is associated with precarity. These green things, they are not clean, they are dirty areas. It is not always, but often informal and illegal, which means that it is usually a dangerous activity with inappropriate equipment and with insufficient or no safety measures, exposing the miners and everything around to risk of mercury poisoning. In indigenous Yanomami territory, the mining dispute is of an area larger than Belgium. Mercury does not only affect the water quality, but also soil and air, accumulating in all organisms, specifically top-level predators, including humans. Under the Brazilian former president Bolsonaro, illegal mining in the Kayapó indigenous territory has exceeded by 30% the total destroyed in the last 40 years. And you can see here the difference of the river and what's happening with the illegal mining in the Kayapó territory. Communities, mostly indigenous, living close to mining areas are often facing risks of attacks and violence when attempting to defend their territories from illegal incursion. Already many indigenous leaders and other environmental activists have been killed in Brazil. And the reasons that I'm saying all of this is to ask, what can we as designers do? Because of all of us, especially technologists, are deeply implicated in this, not just as individuals enjoying a privileged lifestyle of the mineral age, but also as a community with a shared profession that depends on minerals and mining. Electronic products Electronic products accounted for 37% of gold used in the United States in 2019. While there have been attempts to industry to be more cautious about the sources of materials they produce or use, I believe as a community we have not critically engaged with or addressed our entanglement in this problem. However, there is also a substantial body that critically engages with sustainability, which brings us to the question, what am I as a technology researcher to do? This is a very difficult question, as our main practice is to intervene with technology to build new tools or introduce existing tools. So we often try to address problems with technology. Even when we do not work in a solution-oriented way, we work with technologies to explore issues, discuss topics, facilitate communities development. So another way of looking at this is that we argue here in this paper that this constitutes not only a wicked problem, but a wicked cycle, where attempts to address a wicked problem, such as mining, for example, when the indigenous community, they want to communicate what's going on, so they need technology to document or to denounce what's happening. This need of technology in those areas reinforce the problem by relying on the results of the problematic practice, such as mineral-based technologies. So in this paper, we explore this problem further by using a post and decolonial lens, illustrating how the challenges in the Global South, for example, in the Amazon region associated with mining, are the results of a globalized economy built by and for the global north, rooted in colonialism and continuing a similar structuring of the world. So there was an investigation, I think last year, that reveals how illegal gold leaves the Amazon rainforest and ends up on our cell phone or computers. It shows that the 4 most valuable companies in the world, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, were the final destination of the products of 2 refiners, the Italian Chimet and Brazilian Marzam, whose production was contaminated by metal extracted from illegal mines. This is information from some months ago that shows that in 2021, 121 kilometers squared of Amazon rainforest were cut down to make way for mining activities. This was followed by a decline in the following year. However, now in 2023-24, when our new president is acting on those areas, there has been an upsurge from January to August. Mining was responsible for clearing 76 kilometers squared of forest, more damage than previous year. That's something that it was a bit surprising for us. And this is a question that I would like to engage you with, that are the people who are still here watching. I would like to ask you, how much in dollars do you think the materiality of an iPhone, that's the only one that I found, the iPhone 6 from 2015, how do you think, just in minerals, the materiality of this product costs? Can you just guess one number?
In materials, I would guess like less than $50 probably. Like I'm assuming it's a very little percentage of the price.
Yeah. And you, Matab?
I think more than maybe 50, but not a lot, like around 100, something like that. I don't have any idea.
Yeah, and Hudab, he said that it would be 20. So the cost of a cell phone is $1, just the materials from this iPhone, specific one. So this is something that just to give us an idea that the price of the materials, like they have to get so much, tons. I don't know. I cannot even imagine how much they have to destroy and to get so they can have profit of such a thing when they manage to build a cell phone with $1. And then I'm not so sure if I should continue. Do you have questions now, maybe with this other topic? If you have something that you would like me to clarify? No? Okay. So I will continue with the third paper that I would like to explore here is a different way of engaging with activism. In this case, was more about bringing voices of people who were ignored, like people didn't want to hear about. So there was a lot of prejudice when I went to talk to these rural communities, because they belonged to a former combatant. So they were seen as how can I say, I forgot the name, but they were guerrillas. So they were doing bad for the society. So this is the camp in this picture. It's located in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, and so we are moving from the Brazilian Amazon rainforest. Now we are moving to Colombia. And as you remember at the beginning, I mentioned that I had a very good conversation with that lab at MIT. So they invited me to go to this camp to organize a workshop. And in the conversation with those people that they are living in these conditions after the peace agreement, I could see topics related to my friends from Acará. So I was like, how are you using internet? How is the use of internet here in this region? What are you using it for? So now I think I'm trying just to bring you to another environment. So I hope it's clear. So in 2016, the government and the guerrillas, they decided to write a peace agreement because there was a fight that happened for 50 years in Colombia. I don't know if you have heard, but if you watched movie about the Pablo Escobar, there was always guerrillas involved. So it's like those bad people. And the reason they were formed at the beginning was because they would like to have their lands, produce their lands in an autonomous way. And then that was the starting point. The government came and killed many people from these campesinos. And then they start to get together to protect themselves, and they hide themselves in the forest, in the mountains, and they started moving strategies to fight for their way of living, but unfortunately with violence. And there was violence from both sides, from the government and from the guerrillas. So they were going to this, after the peace agreement, they moved to 26 areas across the whole country, and that is called nowadays populated center. The objectives of those areas were to create conditions for ex-combatants to lay down their guns and to prepare them for the transition to civilian life through training and capacity building. The space is remotely located and had around 400 inhabitants when I visited. It was in 2018 when I visited twice. So they have these areas like football camp, classrooms, greenhouses, plantations, but they didn't have electricity. They also depend on diesel, and without diesel, you don't have water running, you don't have a fridge working, so it's don't have internet. So they are very dependent on diesel. Also in these areas, they would hang their cell phones on pieces of wood, and they would they would let the cell phone there until the message would leave their cell phone or they would receive messages. This was the first time I came, was in January, and then in August when I returned to them, they all had antennas already in their houses. So in this month, in August 2018, 7 months after, many houses had antennas to receive radio signal from a private internet service provider. Now you have they are in a transitional process. So what was the experience that I was trying to understand from them? Because they were guerrillas, they would have their families' ties cut. They would not connect with their families because they would be afraid that their families would be affected by the violence too. So once the peace agreement came, the first thing they did was buy a cell phone and connect to their families. And one of the stories that I heard more often was people using Facebook and trying to find their families, relatives, people to connect to. There was a female guerrilla that we met. She had a child in 1984, and it was too dangerous to keep her son in the group. Imagine, they were all military and they had their way of living where they had to run away if something was detected, a bomb was sent, police. So she had to give away the baby at the age of 19 months. And after the peace agreement, she wanted to meet him, but the family who had adopted her son, had changed their name. So she couldn't find him on Facebook. And then she had to hire a lawyer to find. And nowadays they are in contact and they are friends on Facebook too. Another ex-combatant told me that he had no contact with his family for 20 years. So he used the first money he received to buy a smartphone. So he installed Facebook, registered a fake profile, and found his mother. But he did not ask to be friends. He just asked a friend to go there in person to tell him that he was alive and ask her if he could come and meet her in person. So he didn't use the digital way of connecting. He tried first to make sure that she was alive, and then he sent someone in person to talk to. So here you can find there are more information that I would like to talk about, but I will also open for you to ask things if you have questions about this paper or something that you'd like to comment.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for your talk today. It was absolutely wonderful and really thought-provoking. Our next seminars will be starting from October, but in the meantime, if you would like to join us in Lisbon in July for our summer school, check out our website or send me a message. Thanks so much, everyone.